might be what you're expecting, but it's not that. That was, holy cow. That was unbelievable. And you didn't cry once. And I didn't make it through a minute without crying. Mine's going to be much shorter. He thanked everybody that he should thank, and Cap and I have spent obviously years together, and they've been years of complete joy.
Can't do this.
I had a speech. Now that's over. So now I'm just winging it. So I have no concept of where to go. That was Cap. That was great. That was great. Thank you. Last night, I had a chance to spend some time with several of our high school athletes that came here, about 15 or 20 of the high school athletes, and I called one of the athletes that still lives here in town, Terry Bauer, and I asked him, how old or how young is the youngest athlete that's coming here to see us? And he said, 58. I said, I'm not sure that's good news. I'm not 100% what it was, but to those guys that came from all over the country, from Bloom High School, I want you to stand up for a second. Just stand up. Those guys that came from Bloom. These were high school athletes in the 60s and 70s. And I look better than some of you.
There you go.
Drop your head and say, actually, there's several people. So I really have actually not all that much to say. Cap just killed me. So thank you. And I would say this. First, I want to thank my family, Suzanne. We've been married. And I've been married 48 years. Unbelievable. Should be sainted. And my two children, Chris and Claudine. Two children think that I taught them a lot, but the truth is that really what I came to say and what I wanted to say is that all of you taught me a heck of a lot more than I taught you. I was the coach of the year 5 times. I'm in 5 Hall of Fames. I've had a just an unbelievable life, and I've been thankful for every minute of it, and it's been a wonderful experience for me. It couldn't have been better. I mean, it was fantastic. But the first year I went to Bloom High School in 1966, I had never, ever met a black person. I had never spent a moment talking to a Hispanic person. I had never spent a moment talking to what the ethnic differences were, what the sociological differences were. And as a result, the truth of the matter is after all of these years, I was really not the teacher. I was really the student. I was really the person who learned at your side. I learned from the people at Bloom High School. I learned from the people at Cal Poly. I learned from the people at Kansas State. I learned from Max and Renee when we started running, Stephanie when we started running USA Track and Field. I learned from you more than you learned from me. I was the coach, and you listened, and we paid attention, and we had a lot of success. But I knew one thing for sure. I knew that none of us were different in two places. I knew we were not different in here, and I knew we were not different in here. It didn't make a difference what color, what our backgrounds were. It didn't make a difference what our religions were. It didn't make a difference what we did in life. I knew that we all cared about the same thing. We cared about our families. We cared about our children. We cared about our families. We cared about all kinds of things that made a difference to people. I spent several months in Africa, learned a lot of great lessons there. Lived in Japan for several years, learned a lot of great lessons there. Ran companies that were billion-dollar companies and learned a lot of lessons there, but all the lessons I learned were never as great as the first 10 years that I spent working with those young men in Chicago. It was an eye-opening experience for me, because it opened a world to me that I didn't know existed. But what I did know existed is that I knew that people felt the same way about their families. The people felt the same way about their children. They felt the same way about their relatives. They felt the same way about the environments they lived in. So the other night I was talking to one of the athletes, and he was asking me about technique. And he was asking me about biomechanics and so forth and so on. And, you know, I have a master's degree in biomechanics. I have an undergraduate degree in English literature and a master's degree in English literature. And I know a lot of things about a lot of things. But the bottom line is that in order to coach, and in order to get the most out of individuals, in order to get them to really, really perform at optimum level, you've got to get them to see it, to feel it, to really understand it. And each one of us, every single night, go to sleep, or we get ready to go to sleep, and there's 5 or 10 minutes of complete clarity. That clarity is the moments when you know whether you lied, whether you cheated, whether you told the truth, whether you were right, whether you were wrong, what you believe in, what you don't believe in. Hey, Bill, you can be the national champion. Yeah, Coach, I can be the national champion. And then you lay down with 5 minutes to go to sleep, and you say, what the hell is he talking about? What is he talking about? I can make $100 million. I'm going to be the best that ever was. And you lay down in those 5 or 10 minutes and say, what the hell is he talking about? Well, I will tell you the beauty of all of this is that I got a lot of young men and women to see those 5 minutes differently. And I got a lot of young men and women to get me to see those things differently as well. My life has been so incredibly blessed because of my family, because of my friends, because of the people I've met over the years, because of all the experiences I've had. And for whatever reason, and I can't really articulate what those reasons were in total, but the 5 years I spent here at Cal Poly were among the best 5 years of my life. I didn't know Cal Poly and Chicago were on the same earth. I thought they were two complete. My guy, and I'm going to probably lose my job. She said, why don't you become the AD? And I looked at her and said, shit, this marriage is, I thought we were going to be together a long time. This is over. This is not happening. We're done. She said, no, you could become the AD. And you know what? I did. Became the AD, became the president of organizations, the chairman became the president of organizations, the chairman of USA Track and Field. Last year, our little tiny business made $950 million. We ran and built 90 schools in the United States of America, raised $1 billion to give children an opportunity to have an education that did not have the opportunity before. We gave choice to children to get involved in academics that they never thought was possible. And all of that started when I was at Bloom High School. I want to relate just one story to you that will sum it up, and then I'll kind of fade off into the sunset. One of the guys that's here tonight is a guy named Don Fry, who doesn't want to hear the story, because last night I told him the story and he didn't remember it, which really pissed me off. So when Don Fry was a sophomore in high school, he ran for us at Bloom, and he was a horrendous athlete. Don had the foot speed of, you know, the tortoise in the hare? He wasn't the hare. So Don is a sophomore and he goes to his first major competition, and we were getting off the bus. We had several hundred kids out for track and we were getting off the bus, and I said, Fry, you pick up the medicine kit and bring it out. You bring it out. And he did, and the meet was over. We came back to the high school, and he put his head down and he looked at me and he said, Coach, you don't have to remind me that I was the worst guy on the team. And I said, you know what? I said, you're right about that, Don. And from that day forward, I had the captains of our team and the best athletes we had pick up the medicine kit and bring it up. The point is I will tell you this, that listen, pay attention, because every day you're going to learn something new, and you never know where it's going to come from. You're never quite sure. You think you have it down pat, and a young child's going to say something to you that's going to open your eyes and illuminate you. And somebody you never thought possible will tell you something that you never, ever, ever dreamt about. And my life has been an absolute, incredible, unbelievable blessing. And what Cap and I did for Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo is really, was a feeling of love and appreciation. It was a feeling that we had a chance to give something back. And what I would tell all of you is during those 5 minutes of reflection in the evening, during those moments when things become really true, think you can be better than you've ever been. Do more than you ever thought possible. Become something that you never, ever dreamt you could be. Because there's not a person in this room that can't change the world. There's not a person sitting here that can't have an impact on a variety of people. And every once in a while it's a hug, it's a kiss, it's a thank you, it's I appreciate you, it's a moment in time that other person will never forget. So from my perspective to you, I never taught a day in my life, but boy did I learn a whole bunch of things. Thank you very much.